In my experience, one of the biggest challenges of urban sketching is not necessarily one about skill, it's the fear of when you open your sketchbook and suddenly everybody's staring at you. Thinking, oh, what's she doing? And even after urban sketching for a few years, I still get self-conscious sometimes. So if this sounds familiar to you, you might find this video useful because I'm going to share 10 tips that might help you build up a little bit of confidence for sketching in public. And while we go through them, you'll see a sketch I did in Ipswich town centre on a fairly busy Saturday afternoon because it was football match day, where, I'll be honest, I felt a bit self-conscious at first. So what is it we're really scared of that makes sketching in public such an ordeal? Well, it can feel like you're under a spotlight and everyone walking past is judging what you're doing. But honestly, most people are far too busy getting on with their own day. They're walking the dog, thinking about what they're having for dinner, or doom scrolling on their phone. Do you remember everyone you saw today and what they were doing? Probably not. I was always quite self-conscious when I was younger, and I'm sure that the thought of sitting in public sketching would have horrified me back then. But someone told me a quote that I tried to keep on board back then, and I still try to keep it in mind now. What other people think of you is none of your business. And that's absolutely true. But it's all very well in theory, so here are some practical tips that might make this easier. The first outside places I chose when I started urban sketching weren't busy town centres, but quiet places like churchyards. They're peaceful, usually have some convenient benches to sit on, and the few people you might come across tend to ignore you or just politely nod. And there's often lots of interesting architecture. But I'd probably avoid Sundays or other religious days. And try not to accidentally gate crash a funeral. Maybe if there are lots of people wearing black like the ones here in Greece that I failed to notice when I was about to sketch a church, it might not be the best time. I actually think that I've just stumbled on a funeral, so I'm going to move. Other places where I generally feel more comfortable are where people are already sitting around doing their own thing, like on park benches where there are bound to be others sitting around reading, eating lunch, scrolling on their phones, and you just blend right in. It feels much less conspicuous than setting up a little folding stool in the middle of the street. That might be the eventual goal, but you don't have to start there. And if you can sketch with a group, that helps a lot too. I've done it in cities like Oxford, and being part of a group does take the pressure off immensely. But obviously that's not always possible, so maybe ask a friend to come along with you. I've had friends join me and read a book while I sketch, and a few of them have actually ended up wanting to try sketching themselves and have gone on to take it up as a hobby. Some people find wearing earphones help if they don't want to be interrupted. Personally, I quite enjoy the occasional little chat with people who wander over, and I do like to hear what's going on around me, but it's certainly an option you might want to try. Likewise with wearing sunglasses. That's not why I wear them. My eye's quite sensitive to light due to eye surgery, but if people can't make eye contact, they are probably less likely to come up and speak to you. So you could give it a try if you really do want to ward them off. Cafes are brilliant places to start sketching in public. I like to try and find a little corner table with my back to the wall if possible. I'll try and get a small table, and I make sure I order a few things while I'm there because obviously it's important to support the cafe if you're going to be sitting there for a while. No one really takes any notice of someone sitting there with a laptop in a cafe, and they're less likely to take any notice of you sitting there with a sketchbook. In fact, there's a little bonus tip. If you really want to be stealthy, take your laptop along and sketch behind it. And don't feel you have to start by drawing the entire cafe scene with all the baristas and coffee jars and customers and coffee machines. You can just start with what's right in front of you. Something simple like your coffee cup or the sandwich in front of you, the condiments on the table. Which leads me on to the next tip. Your first sketch in public, wherever it is, doesn't need to be the whole street scene, doesn't even need to be a whole house. It could just be a doorway or a gate, even a telegraph pole, anything that catches your eye. In fact, just round the corner from where I'm sitting, there's an old gate called the Wolsey Gate from the 16th century. The whole area has connections to Cardinal Thomas Wolsey, who was born in Ipswich. I'm actually sitting outside a building called Cardinal House, and just along the street there's a statue of him and a pub called the Thomas Wolsey. So if I was feeling a bit nervous about sketching a whole scene, I'd probably just start with the Wolsey Gate. And what I've found is that once I start drawing and get over that initial feeling of self-consciousness, I get so absorbed in the sketch, I forget that there are people around at all, really. And don't feel you need to use your entire watercolour kit. You could just bring a simple sketch pad and a pencil or a biro. To anyone walking past, it probably just looks like you're writing in a notebook or making a shopping list. People sit around reading books, writing in notebooks, taking photos all the time. What you're doing isn't really that unusual, and honestly, it's still much cooler than doom scrolling. If someone comes up and asks to see your sketch, remember you don't have to show them anything. You can just say no, sorry. Or you could tell them, I'm learning to urban sketch. The word learning works wonders and it changes the whole tone of the conversation. People tend to become encouraging and no one expects a masterpiece from someone who's learning. I've found, without exception, people to be friendly, and they often say things like, oh, I'd love to be able to do that, or I used to draw, but I wouldn't have the confidence to do it in public. It's probably taken them a bit of courage to come up and approach you. And you never know, you might even encourage someone to take up the hobby themselves. Another trick is to not start from a completely blank page. You could bring along a half-finished sketch and finish it outside. That way you're getting used to drawing in public, but without the pressure of starting something entirely from scratch. The eventual goal as an urban sketcher is to sketch what's in front of you, but if it helps to build that up in stages, then sketch whatever you want to. You could even do a little reconnaissance before you arrive. If you look up your intended location on Google Earth or Street View, you can get a feel for what you want to draw, and you might even sketch a few rough pencil lines beforehand. Then when you arrive, the page isn't blank and you already know where to start. I like keeping a list of places that I'd like to go and sketch, and that way I don't waste too much time wondering where to go if I wake up when it's a nice sunny day. It becomes something to look forward to as your confidence grows. And that is an important point. The more you do this, the easier it gets. Your confidence will grow. I find now that once I've sat down and started drawing, I rarely think about it. But I still sometimes get that little moment of awkwardness when I first open the sketchbook. Like when I did this sketch that I'm showing you now, in the middle of the town on a Saturday, just before a football match. And yes, a few people glanced over to see what I was doing, but no one stopped, no one stared. One lady smiled at me and everyone just carried on with their day. And so gradually you'll find that it's not just that nobody else cares, you'll stop caring too. So if you've been nervous about sketching in public, maybe try just one small sketch somewhere quiet this week, like a churchyard or a park bench. And you might be surprised how quickly it starts to feel normal. And if it does start a conversation with a stranger, you might find you actually enjoy it. So if you want to go out urban sketching in public but haven't yet, let me know in the comments what's holding you back. And if, like me, you were a bit nervous to start with, let me know in the comments what helped you to get over those nerves. I do think it's a real stumbling block that holds people back from starting urban sketching, so I'm really interested to know what has helped you. As always, I'm going to put a reference photo of the scene that I was drawing, which is the corner building in St Nicholas Street in Ipswich. I'm going to put that up in the community tab, so if you fancy having a go at drawing it, please do, and please do share. Well, I hope that's been useful. Thanks for watching and happy sketching.